you have never created a rubric in Canvas before, it might seem like a daunting task. Really, it's a piece of cake, and I'm going to walk you through the process of creating a rubric for your assignments. The first thing you need to do is to open an assignment that you want to attach a rubric to. Once the assignment has opened, you'll scroll down, and at the very bottom of the assignment description, you'll find this button that says Add Rubric. Well, I guess really it says Plus Rubric, but anyways, we're going to click that button so we can add a rubric. Now, the first thing I like to do is give my rubric a descriptive title. Not necessarily that one, but you want to give it a descriptive title so that today you know what you're doing, but after you've had a few nights of wonderful restful sleep, you might awake 3 days later and notice that you have a rubric and you don't remember what it was for. Or you might want to attach it to another assignment down the road, and this will just save you a lot of head scratching. Now, after you have created your descriptive title, the next thing that you're going to need to do is create descriptions and rating descriptions for each of your criteria. So to do that, first we want to click this pencil button, and here you can see where it says description of criterion by default, and I'm just going to call this criterion A, and of course you in this space would whatever the criterion was that you were evaluating at this point in the rubric, you would have that here. For example, if you were evaluating essays, you might have a criterion description that says thesis and focus, for example. And then you could create a description here that just describes what you've done in the description. Describes what you've done in the description. Okay. And then you'll click Update Criterion. And now we need to assign ratings for each of these. So in this case, I'm going to assign, we'll click the pencil button here, and you could change this to whatever you want to change it to. I'm going to leave it at 5 points here. I'm going to describe this rating as excellent. And then in the description here, you would type out what it means for this criterion to be rated as excellent. Now, you're going to click the Update button. And I'm going to, now this is a little bit tricky and it takes some getting used to. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to have 5 points, 3 points, and then 0 points. It's best to use this plus button here and go ahead and add the component that goes between these two, or the rating that goes between these two, because if you modify this, you can't come back and add another one right here. It sounds a little complicated, but trust me, it'll make your life easier. So if you want 0 to be here, keep adding until you get to 0 if you're using 0. So the rating score here, I'm going to use the rating of developing. And again, you're going to have a specific rating description. Remember that these need to be differentiating. So obviously, if the student scored on this particular criterion developing, then the rating description for this criterion should not be identical to the excellent rating description for the same criterion, if that makes sense. Again, there has to be differentiation here. That's the point in the rubric ratings. Now, I have 5, I have 3, so 5 is excellent, 3 is developing, and 0, we'll call that missing or incomplete. And again, a good differentiating description. Now, the next thing you'll want to do is probably you're going to have multiple criteria. So you'll click this criterion button again. Now, interestingly, you could hit duplicate, and this is useful if, for example, you were doing a discussion board. You had just created a criterion for replying to a peer, and maybe you wanted them to reply to a second peer. You could actually duplicate criterion A, and then the description here, you would call this criterion B, and obviously in that case it would be replying to a second peer. But at least it saves you from retyping everything that you did, just a moment ago. And then of course you could click New Criterion, and you would go through and add each of those. Now, I'm just going to take that out so that we can stop here. Don't forget that you're going to want to click Use this rubric for assignment grading. That's important because that is going to attach the rubric to the assignment. So that way, when a student views the assignment, they'll actually see the rubric by which they are being evaluated. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the Create Rubric button here. And now notice here's the assignment that we clicked a moment ago. And voila, there's our rubric at the bottom.